platforms. At least 3 of them are in Facebook and 2 of them are in LinkedIn. But we are here with the Virtual Summiteers peer group, and we have a masterclass today featuring the Jason Hodge of Mastering Your Media and of B Solutions. He's going to be talking with us today about mastering your pillars, and we're going to find out what that is and how that can help us move forward in our own business. So, Jason, you have the stage.
All right. This is exciting because pillars, this is a conversation that uh, I know that every business needs to have. And the reason why I know this is because about twice a month, I team up with the community over in, can I say names, Katie? Business Solutions over at New York Life. And we run a workshop or an incubator, if you will, where we bring businesses together from the community and we talk about their solutions inside of the marketplace. And one of the things that stands out is the intentionality of one set of businesses and the lack of understanding of another when it comes to how you build out everything that you do in your business, and you build it out based on the pillars that your business stands on. So today, as we dive into this pillar conversation, it's going to be a very organic conversation. And it really uh, is really designed to ferret out opportunities that you have in business to understand you better, understand your marketplace, and then understand what is needed in order for your business to stand so that as you draw in the right clientele, the right people that you serve, what have you, you're drawing them in through the lens or the filter of your pillars. Your pillars, they are designed to do a number of things, not only uphold your business, they're also designed to repel those who should not be in your business. They're designed to filter out the type of content, the type of movements that you make in business. They are designed to protect you, just like a pillar would in a. And the reason why we dive into the conversation around pillars is because pillars are a great representation of what it is that holds a structure together. It is your plans, it is your reason for being. It is your end goal objective. What is it that you ultimately want to achieve in your business? And it is your big why. It is the peeler of the onion layers because we have what we think is the reason on why we do things. And then upon further examination, as we peel back the layers, we come down to the core reason of why we do things. So in business, you may have opened up your business because you needed to make some cash flow. You may have opened up your business because you saw that there was a need in the marketplace that you were uniquely fashioned to be able to answer. You may have opened up your business because you wanted to do that instead of, doing something else in life. You didn't want to work for somebody else. So you just opened up a business without maybe necessarily a plan. And that last one, that last piece, is probably the area where there is more closure, more failure. Reason being is that I was looking at Investopedia, and the stats were, and this was back from 2021, that in the first year of business, there is a 20% failure. 20% of the businesses close within their first year. The next 5-year term is 50% of the businesses close their doors within 5 years. The next tier is 65% of businesses close their doors in 10 years. Now, why is that important? Well, the importance is that the common denominator is that, well, for one, lack of expertise, lack of planning, lack of vision, they did not operate according to a set of pillars, which would allow them to know what their marching orders are and what they need to do in order to maintain the momentum in their business. So it's very key that you do understand what upholds your business. You do understand what your personal mechanism is. That's your values. That's your internal pillars. You do also understand what the needs and the wants are of your marketplace, which takes research. So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, I was going to dive into some slides, but I think I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to open up the mics as well because I appreciate doing interactive workshops. So that way, every time that you leave, you come away with things that you can use right now. They're actionable steps. It's not a bunch of theory. This is a matter of what can you take away from this right now that you can implement to where you were like, you know what? That transformed my business. Okay, so let's dive into it. I want you to type into the chat area, first of all, why you're here. Okay, because that's important. If you come away with having your particular question answered, it was a success. If you don't have a reason for being here, it's just because you happen to love me and you're like, you know what, that Jason, he's cool, so I'll just show up. Okay, well, say that, and maybe that'll be good for me. I don't know. But I want you to really dive into what do you want to extract from our masterclass today. And then when we leave, God willing, you're going to have all of the things that you need to get you on the road. Now, in the 45 minutes that we are talking live here before we open up the floor for Q&A, I know that there's no possible way that all of your questions are going to be answered. But the aim is to make sure that you understand that there is an answer, there is a method, there is a way in which you can get mastery on the pillars of your business in order to then create your media, your content, your talking points, all of the things that are necessary in order to make your business thrive in a marketplace that is looking for solutions. They may not know, though, that you are there to provide the solutions. So one of your pillars could very well be marketing, your story. How do you get your information out there in front of the right people to make sure that they know that you are here in order to be able to solve their problems? Businesses exist because problems persist. So when you've opened up your business, ideally it's because you saw a need in the marketplace that you were uniquely fashioned to be able to solve. If the answer, however, is that you didn't research it that way, all hope is not lost. It just means that you're going to have to do some retro work in order to now understand the marketplace that you're in better and then see what unique position that you have in that marketplace in order to make sure that when all is said and done, you are looked at as a resource that the marketplace draws to, it pulls to you. Okay. And that comes down with understanding from a very core place who you are, what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. So with that in mind, I'm going to look at the chat real quick just to see what folks are saying that is needed. Let me see. Okay, where's the chat over here? Chat. Okay, controls are a little different. What folks are saying that they're here for, and then how it is that we can fashion the content today in order to meet the needs, your needs. There's going to be a section in here we're going to dive into mining your business, and that's probably one of my favorite topics aside from repurposing your content. And that's because inside of your business, now there's a story in the Bible that I absolutely love, and it is where I think it's Elijah the prophet or Elisha, I always get those two mixed up. There was this woman who only had a cruse or a jar of oil. And he went up to her and he's like, hey, what's going on? Okay, this is paraphrase, of course, modern day. And she's like, well, I've got this oil. I'm about to make a cake of bread or, whatever. And then I'm going to eat this and basically die. And he's like, okay, before you do that, make me a meal. Now, she could have said, what are you talking about? Did you just hear me? I said, I have this little bit of oil in this flour. I'm going to make this thing. I'm going to eat my last meal and then I'm done. But instead, she's like, okay, go ahead. And she did it. Now, I learned a little bit more about this particular relationship because her husband used to go to his school. He died. She was left a widow. And so then dynamics, society was a little different where she was. And so, as a widow, without having the ability to make her own way, she was pretty much destitute and things looked very bleak for her. So the prophet came up to her and was like, yeah, make me this meal and then, we'll talk about it. She makes the meal. Then he says, okay, what do you have in your hand? Now, this is the part that I think is very critical because it is the basis of what I call mining your business. What do you have in your hand was what resources do you have that you may not have thought about that could actually work for your benefit? So she's like, all I have is this oil in this vessel. He's like, okay, go around to all of your neighbors and all of that, go around to your community, collect vessels from them. And then I want you to fill those vessels with with the oil. Now, the principle around that was that when you have abundance, it continues to multiply. Okay, that's the multiplier effect. When you have what God has given you for your business, what have you, it will continue to replicate itself. It will duplicate, it will multiply. So it's never a one and done. There's no such thing as scarcity in the gift and the purpose of your business. It's just a matter of you have to be able to pivot your mind around what actually it is. What do you actually have in your hand? So she went around, collected the vessels, and she began to pour the oil. Now, I love this because the oil is representative of skill set, knowledge. It's representative of resources. It's of ability. Now, how many have ever had this thought that, okay, I'm just a housewife, I'm just a mom, I'm just a parent, I'm just an employee, I'm just a worker, I'm just whatever that is, you can fill in the blanks. That tells you that your mind has been limited because you only see the detail for the detail as opposed to the abundance that is woven into that detail. Example, you're a parent. So if you're a parent, that means you're a marketer. That means you're a salesperson. That means you're a master negotiator. It means that you are a person who has to pivot. You have to innovate. You're an innovator. You're an inventor. You're a creator. Don't say that you're not a parent. That's cool. So you are an employee somewhere who happens to be operating at a level that it just maintains your job. But if you slow down just a little bit in order to take in all of what's around you, you will start to see opportunities all around you. Why is it that there are some employees who get promotions while others have their head down buried in the work and all they get is a 3-cent raise after 6 months? Well, the reason is that the one who is working is actually taking from the company. It's going to sound kind of strange because you're like, what are you talking about, Jason? They're working, they're putting the hours in, they're doing the work, and they're getting a paycheck. Yes, but they're not innovating. They're not building relationships. They're not exploring and exploiting the opportunities that are all around them. So they don't see themselves as a business that happens to operate inside of a business. I'm here to tell you, you are a business that operates inside the business of your life, the business of your business, the business of your community, the business of your relationships. Everything about you has the ability to see deeper, to peel back layers, and to find opportunity in order to have the right conversation, to build the right relationships, to uphold a certain standard on a foundation that has pillars on it that holds up the structure. So I've got a question for you, and I want you to put it inside of the chat. What business are you in? Who do you serve? Why you serve them? Okay, interactive. So pop that in there. If anybody wants to unmic, feel free to unmic and we can have a little dialogue here. The whole purpose of this masterclass is to get you to see things a lot deeper than you have been, so you never feel stuck, but instead you always remember that there's always opportunities, there's always an answer, always a ram in the thicket, there's always a solution, and you are the solution to somebody else's problem. And when you find the right crowd of people who are willing to part with their resources to get your solution, you have a business. When you mind your business, you start looking at it deeper. Wait a minute, what happens if I saturate, which is going to be kind of impossible, but let's just go with this for a moment. What happens if I saturate the marketplace and I've sold to everybody that I could possibly sell to? Then what? Well, then that means that you've not thought deep enough about what you actually have. You've not thought about the other vessels that your resource can be contained in. And what does that look like? It looks like a pivot. I was just on the phone earlier today because, I'm a foodie. And so I was looking at different ways that businesses diversify, how they multiply, how they deploy into a marketplace or other marketplaces, what are called ancillary marketplaces, marketplaces that aren't directly in your marketplace, but they're related or can be impacted by your marketplace. And I was looking at food because, again, I'm a foodie, and I wanted to see how many different iterations of food are there where people who are food professionals can make a lot of money by closing contracts, by selling items, by instructing, by licensing. So let's talk about it. So we've got a restaurant, we've got a food truck, we've got a bistro, we've got an airplane concierge service that serves food to passengers. We've got vending food that is packaged in vending machines. We have food that's licensed to other companies that private label the food, okay? Private label. We're all still talking about food. Well, we've just talked about how many different ways, how many different revenue streams, how many different pivots that food can have, okay? That food professional can create. So once you hit what you think is saturation in your marketplace, it's time to pivot. Well, how does that pivot look? The pivot could even be you don't retool for something else. Maybe you need to now approach your marketplace from a different language. Have you thought about changing your stuff or adding to it something in a different language? Spanish, French, Italian, German, Pekingese, whatever. Because all of those apply. I have now hit the zenith of my marketplace, and now all the people who speak English know what I do. Great. Does anybody who speaks Spanish know what you do? No. Evolve, develop, deploy, disseminate. So you start to look at your opportunities, and that way it totally destroys all possible competition because nobody can compete with a person who is on purpose. When you know what you are here for, there is no competitor because everybody has their own flavor. Everybody does their things the way that they do it that resonates with their marketplace. There's a number that I love to quote, and it is 1/100,000th of a percent. Now, that sounds a little out there, like, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you, if you had 1/100,000th of a percent of all the people on the planet, you would have 85,000 people for you to personally service. Could you possibly ever do that by yourself in your lifetime? Answer is no, unless you have some serious automation and scale in place. Okay, you have to have a system in place in order to do that. But out of those 85,000 people, what if each one of them gave you $1 a year? That's $85,000 a year. What if you had a product that was $10? That's $850,000 per year. What if you had a product or a service that accrued to $100 every single year from them? That's 8.5 million. And what if they found your services, your products, your offerings valuable enough to, over the lifetime of you and your business, spend $1,000 with you? Do you know that's $85 million? So if it is 1/100,000th of a percent that you have to get in front of to find your ideal people, do you really think you have competitors? Answer is no. It's just that you have to be able to think deep enough into what you're doing to understand what you need to do. And so with your pillars, if one of your pillars happens to be development or marketing, storytelling, one of mine is story, you know, most things that I do have a story attached to it in some way, shape, or form. And I know that everybody has a story. Every business has a story. Every project has a story. So my question is always, tell me your story. Why do you do what you do? Harry and I, we produce a broadcast. It's called Mastering Your Media, the series. And we interview the who's who in their spaces and we ask about their story. Tell us your story. Tell us the ups, the downs, the messy middle, the startup, where you are now and where you're going. And so in that formula, they're able to share things that they have never shared. Matter of fact, it is consistent that we get on the show where they're like, I have never shared that before. Oh my gosh. And it was so much fun. Even the ones who are so nervous, they're like, oh, I don't interview well. I'm like, nonsense. You just haven't been asked the right questions in the right way. Trust and believe you'll be fine. It's just a conversation. That's all. So you don't get nervous talking to us, do you? No, that's all you're doing. So creating the space where they can tell their story to become relevant to the marketplace that needs their story is one of the pillars that operates what I do. It is also a major icebreaker. When you can engage a person and open up the space for them to share what they have not been able to share before, what they are burning to get out, but they just don't feel like anybody's going to listen, you create a different space in their heart for you and what you do. It becomes an affinity. And so when you approach it from that angle, you then also create new opportunities. So I want you to plug in what your pillars are that you think, because I'm pretty sure that's going to shift, especially when you learn what a pillar actually looks like and what you actually stand for. So let's see. All right. Okay. I'm here to understand what I don't know and confirm what I do know. And yes, Jason is cool. Okay, cool. Kudos to Katie. Okay, I'm here because love you, Jason. Okay, good stuff. Hey, Ella. Okay, I'm here for networking and meeting more people to get ideas to help others grow and succeed in our business. Good stuff, Jerome. Okay, looking for a better way to produce content that represents me and my business. Awesome. Here to learn from the 21st century EF Hutton. Raquel, hey, sis. Okay, a better understanding of the pillars and Jason's school. Ooh, good stuff. Shauna. Okay, sorry I'm late. No worries. All right, no worries. Good stuff. All right, okay. Okay, so now Tom Ballard says real business advice on marketing processes. Okay, I tend to be a bit disorganized. Well, welcome to the club. And lately, so I need to have more unified approach and consistency. Awesome. Okay, getting a viewpoint on pillars that I can think better with so I can use it and stay on focus. Awesome. Okay, good stuff, L. Okay, I'm here to learn other ways to market my business and to become more savvy with networking to serve others. Okay, good stuff, Sameta. Increase authentic connections. Awesome, Jerome. I work with parents and children in the New York City school system. Great. Okay, good stuff, Regina. I'm a virtual event strategist working with SaaS companies. Okay, thank you, Erica. Helping people recover their quality of life by overcoming physical limitations from old injuries. Awesome. I'm an entrepreneur working in financial services, serving families and businesses. Good stuff. I'm in the business of helping especially military veterans. Good stuff, Harry. And by the way, Harry's got the Veterans Laughs Matter coming up, so talk about that a little later. Okay, great idea. I'm looking to build a team of veterans as well. Ooh, good stuff, Jerome. Okay, I keep the water flowing. That's right, Tom, you sure do. Okay, hello from Washington State. Hey, Cynthia. Okay, I'm a chef slash baker. I serve the lazy baker, the person who loves sweets but does not love to bake, and others. Ooh, love that, Sean. That's tight. Okay, utilizing language. Wow, that's a powerful and simple shift. Absolutely, Katie. Yes, please. Okay, as Erica, that'll be awesome, especially on subscription too. Okay, good stuff. Everyone has a story. That's right. Okay, Sameta, cosmetologist and driving service, and I serve customers with hair care as well as personally drive clients to their desired destinations. Awesome. Okay, my pillars, automation, distribution, repurposing, monetization, and marketing. Good stuff, Erica. How did you develop your pillars? Ooh, good question, Katie. Okay, creating a paradigm as a author, speaker, podcast host, coach, course creator, and magazine. Good stuff, Cynthia. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, my pillars. Okay. Erica says, I got help from DJ's Naj. Okay, good stuff. All right. My pillars, family, community, integrity, legacy, and faith. Ooh, this is so rich, y'all. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so you have your pillars, and those of you, you will have an opportunity to know how to refine those pillars or to know that it isn't just a guessing game. And all too often, I see businesses that feel that they have to have the answers because there's some shame in not having the answers. No, When you don't have answers, it's just an indication that that is in the area. Okay, I talk about the 4 areas of all possible knowledge. Okay, and it's borrowed from what I learned years later, the Johari window. But the derivation is this: you've got the things that you know that you know, you've got the things that you know that you don't know, you've got the things that you do know, but you just don't know that they relate to what you're doing and they can propel you forward. So you don't even know that you can connect the dots, put them on the radar and all that. And then you've got that area in that fourth quadrant. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't even have a clue that you should know it. And that's the area where you need mentorship, you need eyes and ears on your stuff in order to be able to give you objective viewpoints so they can say, hey, you say you want to go here? Yes. All right. And you say you were doing this, this, and this? Yes. Okay. I hear what you're saying, see where you want to go. And out of all the things that you stated, I see that you're missing these 3 things. It's this, this, and this. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had never even thought about that. Didn't even know that that existed. Didn't even know that that could help me expedite my process to get to my finish line quicker. That fourth area, if you don't put other eyes and ears on your stuff, is the area where you will create your bottleneck. You'll create your pain, your misery, you'll create your failure. So it's important that you do open up the door so that others can now look in and say, okay, I see where you're going. And then there are going to be qualified and disqualified people. And you have to qualify your qualifiers. Okay. Got to qualify your qualifiers. But inside of your pillar, there should be something, whether it is a full pillar or a sub pillar that operates inside your pillar. Part of the pillar's infrastructure. We'll talk about that, later on. That supports your pillar. Okay. When Erica talked about distribution, when she talked about monetization, when she talked about marketing and repurposing and distribution automation, each one of those things, that's a pillar, but each pillar has to have a whole set of things that now support that pillar so it can work properly. Systems, standard operating procedures, mindsets, education, development over time. Each one has its own story. There's a reason why you chose that as your pillar, or you realize why you recognize that as a pillar that's holding your stuff up. Some have not stopped to think about pillars. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny because I'm hearing more and more people say, I had never even heard of that before. But I want you to have this visual in your mind. A pillar holds things up just like a stool, a chair, has 3 to 4 legs. I want you to imagine what happens if you sat on a chair that had 1 leg. Can you balance? You could. I've seen people on unicycles, but who has to do all the work? The people. Whoever's on that unicycle, whoever's sitting on the 1-legged chair has to do all the work to balance so that they don't fall over. Okay, that was cruel, I know. I'll give you 2 legs. Can you sit on that chair without still having to balance on 2 legs? No, it's just that on 2 legs, you may be going back and forth, side to side, or diagonal to diagonal. You still have to do the work to balance. So you need at least 3 in order to maintain your balance to where you don't have to do work there. You can now allocate yourself to do work elsewhere, to build your business, to serve deeper, to impact more lives. And that impact, that service is what ends up bringing you your revenue. There's no business that is open that does not serve a purpose, does not answer a problem. Not one that stays open, I should say it that way. And out of the 65% that close within 10 years, somewhere along the way, they either A, weren't operating by a set of pillars, B, didn't have the expertise to stay in the marketplace and did not know how to pivot to keep or maintain where they currently were. You don't necessarily have to develop and evolve and grow and expand inside of your marketplace, inside of your business per se. Like you could still sell the same widget that you've always been selling. It's just that that one widget now requires that you get in front of enough people looking for the widget, which means that you've got to do the research in your marketplace in order to understand where those lookers are, who's searching for what you've got, who has what you need so that you can give them what you have because they're looking for it. Okay. Research. So somewhere on one of your pillars or inside of your Substack needs to have some research. Where do you research? Okay. I want you guys to either put in the chat or open up your mics. Let me know how you go about your research. How do you determine whether the marketplace that you are currently in is the marketplace that you should be in and the marketplace that is going to drive your business forward? What is the criteria that you use? Okay, whether it be key performance indicators. Look, if I go into this marketplace, I need to have this many sales on a consistent basis in order to keep my doors open and in order to have what I need out of my business. At the point that you're finding that that marketplace is not delivering that, one of two things: either it's the wrong marketplace or you've got the wrong story going in front of them. You're not telling them what they need to know in order for them to know that you are the answer to their problems. But if you don't know what their problems are, it makes it very difficult for you to answer the problems because you're playing the guessing game. So you can't come to your marketplace from a place of supposition. You can't guess it, figure it out like, oh, I think it's this. And when I've heard folks trained on how to create their ideal customer, their avatar, it drives me crazy. But every time that I hear them say, oh, well, just basically make somebody up and then start to create the marketing for that person. So you're like, okay, my ideal customer's name is Jimmy John. And Jimmy John has a dog named Fido, and the dog happens to be partially paralyzed. This is not a shot at anybody who's partially paralyzed, okay? This is a shot at how ideal customer personas are created when you go to market to a Frankenstein, somebody who does not exist, never will exist, never has existed, and not even in a bad B movie or C movie. They just don't exist. And so you were talking to this non-existent person, and you're wondering, I'm not getting any sales, but I did what the expert said. I made up a person, and I created this whole marketing campaign around the person, and you forgot to do the very simple thing, which is have a conversation. Harry and I talk about it all the time. Pick up the phone, observe. I remember
Good
years ago.
morning, Jason. Are you allowing open mic?
Yeah, I'll open up the floor for some questions and dialogue in a quick second. Thank you, Cynthia. So I remember years ago, I used to take people virtually to the mall because I wanted to dismiss the concept that you've got competitors. Now, when you go to the mall, what do you see? And Cynthia, since you were the first hot mic, what do you see when you go to the mall? And we're like right in each other's backyard. So let's talk about the town center or this Como Mall or whatever. What do you see when you go there?
Are you asking me?
Yep.
What do I see when I go there?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I mean, like the different stores or
Yes.
the adversity that or the diversity that lives in our area, or
Yes.
um, we see a lot of military here
Okay.
in town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that was actually going to be like one of my questions to you,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of my issues, I guess, with building my business, because a lot of people say to me, oh, you need to like focus on people who have been in a battle with cancer, but I didn't want that to be my focus. And so I've always looked elsewhere, but now what I'm finding is that I'm not getting anything looking elsewhere, and it's almost forcing me to come back to those who have been in a battle
Mm-hmm.
uh, with cancers. And you know my story, so
I do. I do. And so what we're going to do with that, Cynthia, is in the Q&A section, we're going to do a deep dive into that portion of it. But what I wanted you to focus on right now is when you go to the mall, what do you see? So you talked about military, you talked about diversity, you talked about stores. What kind of stores do you see there?
well, we have everything. We have Safeway, we have Target, we have
Do you have shoe stores and clothing stores?
there's clothing stores. Yes, they took they took the shoe store out. Yes,
Yeah,
no, there is shoe stores. Yes, there is.
shoe stores. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Is there more than one type of store where people can go and buy groceries?
Um, there used to be over
Okay.
here
Let,
at
let's
Lake at
let's
the
put you
Lakewood
in.
Town Center. So
Let's put you into the mall, into Tacoma Mall. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, are there more than one place where you can go and buy clothes?
Oh yes, absolutely.
How dare they? Okay. So, are there more than one place where you can buy food?
So not in the Tacoma Mall, but
Oh yeah, the food court.
okay. I
Food
because I'm
court. I was
thinking
gonna say
like
the
I'm
food court.
thinking Safeway, Fred Meyer. Oh,
No,
okay.
food court.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Bunch of
Yes,
bunch of
yes,
bunch of options, right? How about where you can buy cheap jewelry?
yes,
How about smelly cologne?
yes,
Yeah, but they're all in the same location. How can they possibly do that?
yes,
What about their competitors? There's other stores that sell clothes. How dare they open up their store and sell more clothes? Shouldn't there
yes.
just be one store to sell clothes to everybody?
Right. Yeah. It's yeah. And then if you think of the super mall,
Yeah.
uh,
How dare
it's
they have the
really
same type of
competitive.
business in a whole mall of acres and acres of the same types of business?
Yes.
That's deplorable. Okay, and it's not. So let me tell you why. Because inside of that, each one of those stores, even though they're selling clothes and cheap cologne and fake watches and all the other stuff that they sell, each one of them has a specific market segment inside of the marketplace. Everybody who buys watches don't buy Cartiers or Rolexes or Casios or Timexes. The Timex people are the Timex people, and they think a certain way, they move a certain way, and the Timex company has decided to research their person to understand what their wants and needs and hopes and desires are. They understand them so well that they even fashion the colors and the lighting scenario, the way they lay the store out in order to meet the desires or the psychology of that person who they're selling to. They've studied them. Just like the Rolex people understand that the people who buy the Rolex want all the other perks, they want the prestige, they want all of the stuff that Rolex offers to their marketplace. You know, if you're stranded in the middle of nowhere, don't they have a feature that you can hit something on your watch and a helicopter or something comes out? Could be. But they have some features that Timex couldn't even touch. They're like, look, we're good to get you a chili cheese burger. Like, we're not flying anywhere to get you because the price point is not fly out to get you pricing. Okay. Everybody who studies their marketplace understands not only the immediate need of their marketplace, but they understand why the marketplace would even buy from them in the first place. It's their pillar. The pillar lets you know this is luxury, this is exclusive. Exclusivity means we're going to price ourselves so high that the average person cannot even look at us. They will run. So they create a protection so that they do not diffuse or diminish their brand. Okay? They priced in a way where the folks who don't want to seem like common person, they're like, well, I have a Cartier, I have a Rolex, I have Wagyu beef. Okay, it's not the same beef. This ain't your mama's beef. I have Wagyu beef, marbled with all that fat that can only be gotten in the high-end restaurants. So if you don't have that high-end money, then you're not going to get Wagyu beef. Okay, so when you hear people say, yeah, well, you know, I eat Wagyu beef every week, it tells you something about that person, tells you what they care about, what they value. It also tells you what they may not even consider. And then a person who says, you know what, I just went to Pup and Taco and that burger that they had was amazing. They even added some iceberg lettuce to it. I loved that dressing that they pushed out of that little tube thing that they put in the bag. Okay. No shade on either one of them. It is a segment of the marketplace that the company has taken time to study And then the pillar that they built made sure that it serviced that segment of their marketplace. So how deeply do you research your marketplace? It's important that you research them. And in the research, you want to make sure that you're asking quality questions. Okay. And that's not like, how much stuff do you want to buy from me? It is more like, why do you look at Wagyu beef? What's important about Wagyu beef for you? What is it? Tell me about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, let me tell you. Oh, the way that they grow the cows and the way that they marble the beef and the way that they do this, that, and the other. And then the way that it's served. It's got to be served the right way. You got to cut it in the right way or it's going to be tough. So they get geeky about it and you begin to hear this is what's important to them. So then why would you approach them with something that they don't care about? You see, that's the difference between marketing and advertising. Marketing listens. Advertising pushes. I've got this and I need to sell it. Boom, boom, boom. Push, 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 push. Now, I'm not saying that advertising is bad or good. It's just a different approach. Marketing, however, says, let me tell you my story. Let me tell you my values. Let me tell you what I'm about. Because somewhere in there, you're going to hear something that resonates with you for you to say, you know what? I like this company. How many commercials have you seen where the company tells a story in such a compelling way that you're like, you know what? They weren't on my radar before, but I really love what they stand for. Let me go in and grab them. Let me go and buy some of their stuff. How many, by a show of hands or a show of comments in the section, have had that experience where you did not know about a company and then you learned about them and the story that they told hit you in such a deep place that you were like, oh my gosh, I love them. I am going to shop with them all the time. And I'm going to tell other people about them. So it now has transitioned from just you to now you become the mouthpiece of the marketplace, which is the highest form and the most effective form of marketing, word of mouth. Because a trusted individual, a trusted contact is now sharing with other trusted contacts the experience, the feel, they have their hands on and the anchor in their heart that then tells the other people, my gosh, my friend Sarah believes this. My friend Jimmy John believes this. I need to check this out. How many of you have ever seen a movie that just compelled you to tell others, look, you have to see this movie, my gosh, or you have to read this book, or you got to go to this restaurant? Did you get paid for that? Absolutely not. So your marketing has to be so powerful that people will override their own tendency to be selfish, to hold all of the good stuff back because they're like, look, you know what? This is going to be a feather in my cap to share this because this is so good. I can't not share it. And I got to share it before somebody else shares it because I want credit for sharing this good news. So they start to share what you're doing because you have impacted them so much. They're like, oh, yes. Does your business have the oh, yes moment? Okay. What one of your pillars will deliver the oh, yes? I'm going to give you a hint. It's going to be in your story. Everybody should have a story pillar. All right. So questions, questions, questions. Okay, we're going to be getting into the question portion. Okay, let me tell you some actionable steps right now, real quick. First thing, I want you to ask yourself this question. What do I do? Or what do I want to do? Some of you are operating in capacities that you don't want to operate in, but you may find as a place of necessity you need to. So you were going through the motions and you were grinding it out because you're like, I got to get these bills paid. So I just got to do what I got to do. And so then it puts you in a space of anxiousness that keeps you from actually looking at your options. And in business, when payroll is coming up, when receipts aren't coming through, when deals aren't getting closed, it could put you in a place of anxiousness. Oh my gosh, I got to do something before my door shut. And instead of making the move to silence and observation, to understand, I must not be understanding the depth of the problem of my marketplace that I'm here to solve, you move into tactics. How do we get more people in the door? And then you start taking any and everything that will come through the door. I know this myself. I understand this very well. When you get the wrong client in your door, And then it costs you more because they do not follow instructions. They do not follow the protocol that you know is going to help them. And then you spend all of your time and energy retooling because you're so locked in and you want them to succeed. That's a hard road to travel. So inside of your business, how deeply have you looked at it to find that what you currently have already, what's in your hand, is the solution to a marketplace who needs you? And then how do you turn your listener on so that you know where that marketplace is? Well, you turn to the digital feed, you turn to being out there in the open, you turn to forums, you turn to associations, you turn to events, you turn to things that your industry congregates to so you can listen and hear what are they saying? What are the biggest problems that people are having? Okay. How do you use Facebook to do that? How do you use LinkedIn to do that? How do you use Google to do that? How do you use YouTube to do that? Real quick, find what people are asking on a regular basis. That's going to tell you this is what they care about. You do a keyword search. We'll go into that, right? We won't be able to go into that today, but I want you write down in your list keyword search. Okay, just write it down. Okay, write down research. Okay, because research is critical. Because if you are not answering a problem that people have, if you're not the solution to that, and you just happen to have a business that you opened up because you wanted to make money, it's not going to work. Zig Ziglar said that if you want to be successful, this is a gross paraphrase of what he said, but if you want to be successful, you got to find more people to serve. Your level of success is going to be directly related to the amount of people that you serve. So your product, your service, whatever it is that you have, if you serve properly, people will exchange resources for that service, whether it's money, whether it's open doors. I mean, you name it, you can serve your way to it. I have gotten on international platforms from service. Service. I've built tremendous relationships because of service. And it wasn't let me serve here so I can figure out how to get into their good graces. No, it's just this is what God gave me. This is what I do. This opened up the door. There's a scripture that says your gifts will make room for you. Love that scripture. Because what it says is that you can use your talents and you can pivot them. You can pivot your talents in order to open up a door and open up a yes. And if you tell yourself no, what ends up happening is you dismiss the resource. You dismiss the open door. But if you get outside of your own ego, and I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, we have two egos. The ego, which is your end goal objective, which I preach on that all the time. Love the end goal objective because you got to have a direction, an arrow or a target that you are going to hit in your business. But then you have your ego, and your ego looks to self-protect. Oh my gosh, I don't want to look like a fool out there. So let me do all of the stuff that they, whoever knows who they are, say I've got to have, and then let me run their race, and hopefully it works. Hope marketing doesn't work. You've got to understand what you are here to do, how you do it, and then how can you have the organic conversation that's already in you. You don't have to learn it. It's already in you. You have a way of knowing your industry from your perspective, and you have seen it enough times where you're like, if they would just do it this way, it will work out so much better. I had a great conversation with Sameta. Sameta, I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick, okay? Forgive me for this. But she is like a master stylist. She understands hair. She understands how to structure the health of hair. And we had an amazing conversation. I happened to go to California on business. And on the way back, she was driving me to the airport. We had one of those powwows. And I'm like, well, tell me a little about what you got going on. So as she began to explain to me what she had going on, and she had another thing that she was like, well, I'm thinking I can do this, and then I do this. And I was like, wait a minute, hold on. What did you just say? You do this with hair and all that? I was like, Samantha, do you realize not only how lucrative the hair industry and cosmetology industry is, but just what you know alone could eclipse the marketplace because you're providing a solution that is needed for people who have damaged hair, people who don't know how to deal with their hair. And there are several different ways you could look at this. I think we came up with, what was it, Samantha? You can open it if you might. Was it 5? Was it 7? Was it 10? There was different revenue streams just inside of what you currently do in your business.
Oh, it was several. Because you told me so many things. It was like I was like, okay, slow down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, you were showing me how I could, market myself with, you know, ex consultations with the clients. Showing them how to, look at their hair, the textures of their hair, the kind of products that they would need to use. Um,
And I'm going to
um,
stop you right there because I don't want you to spill all your secret sauce out. But
okay,
the fact of the matter is that you had so much stuff that you didn't even have room enough to write everything down as we were
right,
to the airport. And then we sat for a while talking while at the airport. It was still too much of just what you currently have, what God has already gifted you with inside of your business. You've been in that industry for years, decades. So
yeah,
here it is that when you take time, again, Philippians 4, 6, and 7, be anxious for nothing. Don't get so caught up in having to make a move that you move right past your opportunity. Slow down enough to assess, what do I have? So that way you understand what you can do with what you have. Question is, how many of you have assessed, taken an assessment? How many of you even know what your value system is? I'm not talking about guessing and supposing, because see, you still have layers of filters that you've got to go through based on your experiences in life that have predisposed your mind to thinking the way that it thinks. So the way that you think right now is not the way that you're able to step outside of the frame of your life, okay, the big picture of your life, to actually look in on your life. Remember that fourth quadrant, things that you don't even know that you need to have on your radar? So an assessment is a way to do that so that you can have an objective, scientific way of identifying what your values are, what you stand for, and you will also be able to see what glitches that you have inside of what you're doing. You may be doing stuff that is in direct opposition to your own value system. And if that's the case and you're inserting that into your business, that's the reason why your business is not working the way that it should, because you're out of alignment with your own value system. And there's something about our psyche that does not allow us to lie to ourselves. We may on the surface do it, but somewhere in there, that mechanism is going to break. And then you can end up like, I don't know why things aren't working. Things aren't working because you're not working yet. Things aren't working because there's something that is not aligned. And so, in understanding what you've got going on, who you are, why you do what you do, you can start to align everything else in your life and you start to edit things out. Wait a minute. This is in direct opposition to my value system. I need to move this off the plate altogether. This right here, however, is now I need to find out, how can I make this thing that's in my values, this thing that's in my skill set, this thing that's in my future cast work together so that I can now continue to do what I do, mind my business, find opportunities in it in order to then start to reap benefits and have revenue streams coming in from the one thing that I'm doing. You hear people talk about multiple income streams, right? Multiple streams of income. And then the interpretation is, oh, I got to have a bunch of businesses. Well, you can, but that means that there's a bunch of businesses that you have to manage. Or you can discover the businesses inside of your business. Let's look at that real quick. Inside of your business, I'm going to give you a great story. There was a farmer that I met when I was living in the DC area years ago. And he was talking to me about what happened when there was the financial crash and all of that. And he says the farms were failing. People were having to sell their farms, abandon their farms, and they were in the red. His farm was in the red itself. He pivoted though. He asked, well, what do we have that's of value to the marketplace? Well, they understood supply chain. They understood what it is that they needed to do in order to become very good husbandry, managers and all of that, good growing produce and things like that. What they did was they pivoted and took the intellectual property that they had from their experiences, and they created a whole new business model, a new revenue stream inside of their existing business. farmers would come from all over the country to learn from them. They immediately went back into the black. They became profitable on their intellectual property. They didn't have to sell their farm, and they became a model for other farms to follow suit and do the same thing. So in their stepping outside of what everybody says that you got to be as a farm, and they said, no, there can be more because we have more to serve, more to give. They created a new revenue model for themselves by serving their way to prosperity. So what can you do inside of your business that may not be directly related to your business, but it is? It's just that folks haven't done it. How many of you have heard, oh, well, we've never done it like that before? I've heard that a bunch of times. Opportunity time, because that means that when you do it, you're going to disrupt the marketplace because you're going to stand out. Wait a minute, hold on. I've never heard that before from an insurance person, from a financial planner, from a virtual, media producer. I've never heard that before from an integumentary specialist. Actually, I've never heard of an integumentary specialist before. I've learned of one person. Okay, I've never heard of that before. So that means it's gonna stand out. One of these things is not the same, right? Anything that stands out draws attention. So what are you doing inside of your business? And I'm not talking about create something gimmicky. No, you don't ever need to create something gimmicky. You yourself are unique enough in your marketplace when you dare to be yourself. So who are you? What do you really bring to your marketplace? And if you find that, you know what, I really didn't get into this marketplace anything more than just to get that dollar. Okay, then who do you need to bring in to your space in order to then have the story to move out into the marketplace? Because you can still make that work. It's just you have to borrow from other people's stories. Why do people buy from you? What's their story? Because if you have their story, you can start to share their story. You may not have my story, but you may relate to this person's story or this person's story or this person's story. Well, how do you implement on that? You start asking questions. Hey, so what do you like about my product? Oh my gosh, I like this and this and this and this and this. Okay. Capture that. Customer so-and-so says that they love this, love this, love this. Well, let me tell you about this and why this is that. They just developed your content for you. Congratulations. If you dare to ask your marketplace what they care about, why they're doing business with you or your competitors, doesn't matter, because they're going to tell you the story if you ask them. When you give people the opportunity to give their story, they start to give you their story. Okay, so what is that for you? All right, so it looks like
Jason,
yes.
we have given the folks watching the live stream way too much. We got to implement some fear of missing out. If they want to hang out with cool people like the Jason Hodge of Mastering Your Media and B Solutions, they should have been on the live with us. They should have been here with us on Zoom. So, Jason, would you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes. You know what? Go to li.bsolutions.live. We are growing our LinkedIn presence. And in that, you'll find some nuggets and some great things and all of that. If you haven't signed up, like you may want to sign up real quick on the link that went out there, and that's go to.bsolutions.live/MC, like masterclass -pillars. It'll get you in here because we're about to dive into a Q&A session that's going to be absolutely amazing.
Jason, spell
Yeah.
B Solutions for them.
Okay, and that's B, the letter B as in business, solutions, plural, BSOLUTIONS.live, LIVE /M as in Mary, C as in class, I should have said M as master, right? Class dash pillars, PILLARS. Pop on in here because we're about to roll up our sleeves and dive in. And I'm going to be diving into each person's personal business, and we're going to have a strategy session that's going to be amazing. It's going to be for sale later, the strategy session. So get it while it's free. All right.
All right, Jason, did you have a lead magnet that you want to drop the link for everybody? And I can,
you know what? Here's what I want you to do. Okay, so I've got in 10 days a challenge coming up. Okay, I want you to reach back out to the same link that you used to get into this, and we've got your email, so I'm going to email out to you all. It's a 5-day challenge where we roll up our sleeves, and then I take you by the hand and show you how to work this model for your own business. All right. So we've got some different tiers in that. There's a tier where you can ask all your questions and dialogue, and then so we personalize that and drill in, and it'll be an hour before the actual challenge for everybody else. And then we've got the next tier down where you're still paying a nominal fee to get in, but you don't necessarily ask the questions. You end up getting the benefit of the folks who are asking the questions. And then you can see how that works out and apply it to yourself. Okay. So 2 things like that. So we will send you an invite, check your emails because it'll be coming out. And then you can dive into it 5 days for transformation. And you're going to see some things because you're going to think about your marketplace in a completely different way than you've ever thought about it before. Trust and believe on that one.
Yes. So everybody, this has been the Virtual Summiteers Peer Group featured February Masterclass teacher, the Jason Hodge. And again, if you want to keep hanging out with brilliant people like the Jason Hodge, you should join the Virtual Summiteers Peer Group. And you should have been here live with us on Zoom because now we're about to cut off the live stream. So thanks for checking